This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of having Steve Marchese. We're going to talk about LED light. We're going to talk about what's legally available and what else is going on in the market. We're going to talk about the spread of med spas and the proliferation of this technology. Steve, welcome to your first Halo Talks.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So we've got a lot of friends in common as we've riffed about related to the med spa space and our good friend down in Orlando, Eric Castleberry. But as you take us back to when you started LightStim and where that emanated from, the passion and the frustration you saw, as well as where we are today. We'll talk about the legal components of it as well.
The company's 25 years old. We actually bought the technology from two inventors, and we, at that time, we made just handheld devices for wrinkles, acne, and pain, which we still make now. And then after a couple of years, we started to get into the more of the professional market, and we built panels for the face that were fully adjustable and started selling them to med spas and spas. And now we're in about 50,000 spas, med spas, doctors' offices, that sort of thing. We have 1 million plus consumers using our handheld devices every night while they're watching television at night, getting rid of their wrinkles or acne. When my son was 21 years old, which was 15 years ago, we found out that he had dangerously high blood pressure, and we tried everything under the sun, regular medicine, integrative doctors, anti-aging doctors, naturopaths, Chinese medicine. Nobody could find anything wrong with him, and nothing worked to lower it more than 3 points. And they told us that his blood pressure was so high he could have a stroke and die at any moment. And that was when we decided to build an LED bed. And there really weren't any LED beds, not that many LED beds on the market at that time. And we didn't know what it would do, but it was kind of our Hail Mary. And the bed ended up taking us 6 years working directly with the FDA and millions of dollars to actually perfect it before we put it on the market. But we built something for him in about 60 days. And his blood pressure used to be between 165 and 210 over 110 and 160, like pretty high. And he laid on this thing 3 days a week, and 2 months later, his blood pressure was 130 over 80. And we're like,
what was the thought process, or what kind of cued you in, or what article did you read, or what doctor was doing something experimental? You're like, maybe there's something here.
So what I did know at the time is that if you use the right wavelengths, the mitochondria will absorb them and convert it to ATP, or adrenosine triphosphate, the gasoline of our cells, basically, and which we produce about 8 to 10% less every decade we're alive after 20. That's why most people don't live beyond 100. And I noticed that he passed out every afternoon around 2:00, like he just had no energy left, nothing. And so I said, let's build this thing. We'll use wavelengths that we know the mitochondria will absorb and convert. And the rest of the story. But 3 years into the 6 years in development of the bed, working with the FDA, we met a gentleman named Dr. Nathan Bryan, who was part of the discovery team that discovered nitric oxide in the mid-90s. Okay. And he came in and visited us, and he said, the ATP had nothing to do with your son's blood pressure dropping. It's because this bed is releasing trapped nitric oxide in the body, and nitric oxide will lower high blood pressure. It relaxes the muscle walls of the arteries and gets blood flow going, and that sort of thing.
Wow.
So we were lucky.
So let me ask you this: when you talk about it took you 6 years to get to the point where you made a device that did what? That became FDA approved?
Yeah. They call it FDA cleared. They approve drugs and they clear devices. Same safety and efficacy testing.
So, as you go through that process, are you looking at, you're not necessarily getting, for our audience purposes and for mine as well, I'm not getting a patent. I'm just getting the right to sell it in a medical court, channel. Is that correct?
And to use claims.
And to claim. Right.
So what took so long there was that when we went
Steve, what took so long there?
When we went to the FDA and said we wanted to build a bed and we wanted to get it cleared, they basically, the assistant director of the FDA, he laughed at me and he goes, Steve, he goes, I've known you a long time. I'm just going to save you the heartache. He goes, don't bother trying to develop an LED bed. Definitely don't write the FDA a check because they don't work. And I'm like, wow, what do you mean they don't work? This is just a larger iteration of other clearances that we have, because we had built a good relationship with them because we take all our devices through there with clinical studies and everything that they require. And he said, well, they're not actually delivering any therapeutic light energy down into muscles and joints and organs. They're just lighting up the skin.
Wow.
And this was because of distance. So LED loses its power exponentially as you leave the tip of the bulb. And over the first 3 years working with them, we basically discovered that if you're further away than 3/4 of an inch, there's no possibility of getting depth of penetration. Now, that's different for the face. Like you could have a panel that's 1 to 3 inches away because you're just treating the skin. But when you're working with a wellness device, you need to affect positively enough cells that you're actually going to get a measurable change. And it's a big difference. On the surface, in 1 inch square, you're treating about 19 million cells.
Wow.
And almost their whole job has to do with the skin. If you go down 1 inch in that 1 inch square, now you're treating between 465 and 600 million cells that have a variety of jobs in the body.
Got it.
And so that was why they had a lot of attention on penetration. And so that was.
Yeah. I just want to pause you. I just want to pause for 1 second. Explain to me and the audience. Your son was obviously on the brink of something terrible happening. You kind of hit pause. You built a bed for 60 days. Then what was your day job before you decided to dedicate your life to this?
The reason that you know what detailing a car is because I opened the first detail shop in the world in 1972. And then we franchised and sold 155 franchises across the U.S.
Got it. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew here. They're like, you were not looking for something to do. Like you were busy building a business that was a full-time job. And then it was like, hey, life shock. Let's figure this out. And then once you figure it out, you're like, hey, I gotta release this to the world, basically.
And as big as we became, we're a family-run business. My wife is the president of the company. My son that I talked about with the high blood pressure is a COO, and he oversees manufacturing and regulatory and one other thing. I can't remember what it was right now.
Well, being basically the brand ambassador, it sounds like now. Yep. So fast forward back there because I want to make sure people knew that, successful entrepreneur stumbles across a problem. I'm going to figure out how to solve it, and then I'm actually going to create a business around it, which is the way to solve. Way to start businesses, not just haphazardly. Find something, fix it, and then see if it works, and then go. Thank you.
So there were 3 things that we learned from the FDA, and because of that first one, that was why we built a one-sided bed that you flip on, and we made it so you're only a 1/4 inch off the tip of the LED bulb. So we thought we were done with that and can move on to the next barrier to efficacy, but we weren't, because what we found was so we also knew we were going to use LEDs that are emitting light at somewhere between 15 and 50 degrees. And if you get wider than that, LED loses its intensity too much, which is another reason why your distance is critical, because the further away you get, the wider that the light gets.
Right.
And but what happened was, even though we were 1/4 inch off the tip of the bulb and we had the right angle of light being emitted from the bulb for penetration, when it hit the acrylic, it was going like this, would go out to disperse to 180 degrees. My son spent 2 years working with the 4 largest manufacturers of acrylics in the country, before he figured out, like, they came up with an acrylic that actually let the light through without dispersing it. So now we are getting depth of penetration. The third and biggest barrier is that, and this has to do with the whole legal scene, is the FDA has a requirement for a full body device that's in this pain category. And that's what the FDA calls it. They call it pain. They don't call it red light therapy. They don't call it, wellness. And their requirement or their test is raising the tissue temperature of the entire body to between 104 and 111 degrees. Now, that sounds really hot, and it is really hot when you're outside, but 104 on your skin temperature, you would describe as soothing, gentle, relaxing warmth that you just fell asleep to.
Okay.
And so the problem with they had determined that was that's the area of temperature where the most benefits happen. So that was a requirement. So if you have a full body device, you need to get that accomplished on the whole body. But what happens, and the reason nobody had ever passed this test before, was that when you lay your body on a sheet or a layer of LEDs that's not differentiated in any way, what's going to happen is, best case scenario, if you're close, your torso might heat up to that temperature.
Mm-hmm.
But your arms and your legs that have way less mass than the torso and dissipate heat almost as fast as you give it to them are never going to come up to that temperature. And they're, according to Google, between 58 and 68% of your total body mass. So this was a really important problem to solve. If you're going to tell the public that you're giving them a full body treatment, right, well, you would be deceiving them if you weren't, right? And so that took 3 years. And my son came up with this idea of, instead of having a sheet of LEDs, we would make 30 separate modules, like maybe 6-7 inches wide and 10 inches long, maybe around 600 LEDs in each module, 30 modules. And inside each module is a special little sensor that we designed and had made for us. And all this stuff's manufactured in our factory in Irvine, California. And so what this sensor does is, when you lay on our bed, within 3 seconds, the sensor is going to figure out, oh, I've got this. I mean, I'm going to, in layman's terms, I've got this arm here. It's got X amount of mass, and the temperature of it is X. I need to heat this one module up for this to get it up to the right level.
Interesting.
X
Okay,
amount.
I see what you said. Yeah.
Computer program is running all 30 of them to bring the whole body up, and we patented that.
I got you.
And that kind of, there lies the rub in the existing legal scene, which, if you give me 5 minutes, I'll explain it to you.
Well, let me ask you this question. So first off, congratulations on what you built, and for also, curing your son, which obviously something bad was bound to happen. And I'm sure you've had millions, if not hundreds of thousands of people, lives saved. So congratulations on that, being like a part of the Halo community and impactful. When you see other people come out into the market and they have a copycat product, and 100% that, look, this product is not doing shit for you. They have not complied. They don't have the science. They don't have the right materials. You could go and you can spend a lot of money legally to try and shut somebody down, and then you realize it's just going to pop up again, out of an Asian plant or out of somewhere in Korea or India, what have you. How do you think about that as an entrepreneur? And my reason for asking is, a lot of people try and protect their patents. A lot of people protect the efficacy of their channel. And a lot of times it's like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of swim through it. I'm going to tell everyone what my brand means, and I'm going to outspend people on what the effect is. And then everyone's going to know that LightStim is the quality brand. And I'm not going to spend money on legal teams. I'm going to spend money on my product and my brand. How do you think about that?
Well, exactly that way.
Okay, good.
First off, the Federal Trade Commission is doing the job for us. In April of 23, they put out a warning letter to the health and wellness industry and basically said, you guys are duping the public with unsubstantiated claims, and we're coming after you. We're not only coming after you, but already we have targeted, investigated, and penalized, fines, that sort of thing, 670 companies.
Wow.
So they're pretty on it. And then 6 months ago, one of the largest law firms in the U.S., King and Spalding.
Yeah, my buddy runs the Atlanta office. Josh Kamen. Give him a shout out right now.
Oh, okay. They did a white paper / opinion letter,
Yeah. So
and basically they reviewed the exemption that everybody in the full body device business is under about 4.5 years ago when all this stuff came on the market, and they basically said, like, nobody read this exemption. Everybody thinks that they're just exempt and that they could just put the product on the market and make whatever claims, but it actually says that you have to do the same tests and pass the same test as we did, getting through FDA clearance. And you just don't have to submit them to the FDA. So you don't have to spend millions of dollars in the 6 years that we spent, that sort of thing. But the problem is none of them have that technology and can't pass that test.
So just so I understand what you're saying is you can go to market, you can make claims. However, if we audit you, you're getting audited, you better have the backup for it. Is that what you're saying?
They have to have performed the test and have them in a folder. And here's my stuff. I dotted my I's. I crossed my T's.
Okay, but it's only if the crossing guard comes to your corner is what you're basically saying.
Oh, well, no, not so. Here's the rub.
Yes.
The class action lawsuit firms in 23, when the FTC put out that warning letter, saw that and went, "That's low hanging fruit. We could go after these guys now, and we've got the government behind us." They actually came at us first. They attacked us first, but we had all our paperwork in line, and they actually asked me if I'd be a consultant. I said, no.
Got it. Okay. So you're telling me that the lawyers came after the companies, not the government?
Well, the government did and is continuing, but the scary thing, like the reason that you don't want to just, you don't want to be in this marketplace and not have all your ducks in a row legally, is when the class action lawsuit firms come after you. It's not a fun deal.
Yeah, I got you.
Not a fun deal, and it could end up costing them way more money than they are making off of their business.
Yeah, we've dealt with that in the health club industry a lot with wage and hour claims. And I've seen standard letters from many of my clients. It seems like they just get their name put on it in a mail merge. I think it's called mail merge in Word.
Yeah.
It's really authentic. So, as you take a look at your products and the cost that it costs per bed to put into all these med spas, where's the financing market for that? Do you provide financing with it? Just give us a little idea of how these things proliferate, and how people can get a hold of them.
Well, because we have so many franchises that we're supplying, and they have so many locations, they're able to get way, way, way better pricing than the $50,000 to $55,000 for an LED bed, or $4,500 for a panel for the face, because it's such large volume. So we're able to buy our components much, much cheaper, and we can take advantage of manufacturing processes and that sort of thing that with volume. And but in addition to that, we have financing programs for them. We have leasing programs for them.
Gotcha.
I would say, most of them just pay.
Got it. And then my last question is, out of all of your locations that you service, what is the most amount of LightStim beds that someone has in one single location?
I feel like I might violate NDAs.
Oh, okay. But are there places where it's like, hey, the equivalent of like a small Pilates studio, where people basically have so many of these beds because there's so much demand that it's basically like it's kind of like the primary reason people are going?
I can
or
tell you
something
that.
like that without being. I mean, look, we could try and get everyone to sign an NDA, but I actually have a reasonable amount of listeners now, so it's going to take a little while to get this thing launched. I'm just kidding.
I can tell you who is. I can tell you who's going at this very strongly. Really wants to be in the recovery space in their gyms, and is basically not fooling around. They're going for it, and that would be Anytime Fitness.
Interesting.
They're doing a really good job.
Well, look, I look forward to meeting with you. We got to keep these around 20, 25 minutes, keep the audience really tight, and we'll have all the information up on LightStim. Is there any trade shows that you're going to that people should know about, where they could find you guys? Obviously it's wholesale.
Tomorrow we're leaving for Vegas, the IECSC, which is a huge spa and med spa trade show, the biggest one in the country, actually. I'll be there this weekend. I think it's at the new convention center.
Gotcha. Well, we'll get this out. I'm going to actually have a couple of people that are going to be there. I'll have them get in touch with you that we work with. So it'd be great.
I love that. Love it. If we could do another one, I'd love to tell you my Saquon Barkley story.
Okay. Oh yeah, let's do that now. Let's do that.
Okay.
Being an avid Giant fan, and I have to toggle to the Eagles every once in a while, mostly because of Saquon and because of Brian Mitchell, Aston Mitchell, Riley Mitchell, Avery Mitchell, and Eric Castleberry. Steve, you're opening for Saquon.
So about 2 years ago, Saquon suffered, when he was playing for the Giants, suffered a high ankle sprain. And at the time, there were 9 games left in the season, I think. And basically everybody said, well, he's done for the season and nobody's going to come back from a high ankle sprain that quickly, and a running back. And I flew him a bed to his home in New Jersey, like within 2 days, 3 days. And he did like 3 to 4 hours a day on the bed. And instead of missing all those games, walks back on the field 2 weeks later and sets a personal record of 206 yards.
Nice. Did we win that game? I'm not even sure. We didn't win many games that year, but we were all Saquon fans no matter what. Are you a Giant fan?
I have no time for sports. I'm working 7 days a week.
Well, this is what we do. We're going to send you a copy of our Time to Win Again book, which is basically running your company like a sports team. Sounds like you do that already. And keep it in the family. So LightStim, everybody here probably has seen it. Now you know it. Steve, congrats on what you built and for helping thousands of people. And we're really bullish on the med spa space. So I think you're going to be a key component of it going forward. And we'll also try and help you protect your technology, because that's what we like to do here at the Square.
Thanks for all that. Thanks for having me on. It was really fun.
All right, man. Take care. We'll see you soon in person.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.